Imagine standing before the pyramids of Giza, their stones warmed by the Egyptian sun, built over 4,000 years ago, or walking through the ruins of Machu Picchu, high in the Peruvian Andes, where clouds drift silently over Incan terraces. Picture the roar of the waterfalls at Iguazu, on the border of Argentina and Brazil, where nature itself feels like a cathedral. Or the quiet stillness of Stonehenge at dawn, as sunlight breaks across ancient stones aligned with the solstice. These are not just local landmarks. They are treasures of all humankind. Some places are so extraordinary, so fragile, and so essential to our shared story that the world has agreed they must be protected forever. These are the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. They are living museums, open to everyone, preserving both the achievements of human civilization and the wonders of the natural world. Each site is a reminder of what we have built, of what we must protect, and of what we hope to pass on to future generations. What is UNESCO? The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, better known as UNESCO, was officially founded on the 16th of November 1945, in the aftermath of the Second World War. The world had just witnessed destruction on a scale never seen before, not only in terms of human lives lost, but also in the erasure of culture, knowledge and heritage. Libraries had burned, monuments were reduced to rubble, entire traditions were threatened with extinction. In response, world leaders asked themselves a vital question: how can peace truly last if it is built only on political and military alliances? They recognised that peace had to be nurtured in the minds of people through education, science and culture. Out of this vision, UNESCO was born. The first UNESCO constitution was signed in London, 1945, by 37 countries, including Britain, the United States, France, India, Canada, Egypt, China, Australia and South Africa. Today that number has grown to 194 member states and 12 associate members, making it one of the most globally inclusive UN organisations. The Constitution opens with words that remain at the heart of its mission. Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defences of peace must be constructed. This guiding principle means that UNESCO is not a military or economic body, but rather a cultural and intellectual guardian of peace. Its founders believed that ignorance, prejudice, and lack of access to education were among the root causes of conflict, and that by countering these, humanity could create lasting stability, mission and scope. UNESCO's mission is broad but interconnected, built on 4 pillars: education, spreading literacy, training teachers, developing global education policies, and promoting the right to education for all. In 1946, UNESCO began rebuilding war-damaged schools in Europe, and today it still leads international campaigns for universal schooling. Science, fostering cooperation in natural sciences, water research, oceanography and climate studies. UNESCO also spearheaded global projects like the International Hydrological Programme and promotes open science for shared human progress. Culture, safeguarding the world's cultural heritage, including monuments, traditions and languages. This is the branch most famous to the public, as it created the World Heritage Convention in 1972, giving us the World Heritage Sites. Communication and information, promoting freedom of expression, defending press freedom and supporting media development around the world. Leadership and early figures, The first Director General was Julian Huxley, 1946 to 1948, an evolutionary biologist and humanist from the UK. He envisioned UNESCO as a way to bring science and culture together in service of global peace. Over the decades, UNESCO has been led by a diverse range of directors from across the globe, reflecting its mission of international cooperation. Today, the Director General is Audrey Azoulay of France, elected in 2017, who continues to stress UNESCO's role in defending cultural heritage against war, terrorism and climate threats, headquarters and global reach. UNESCO's headquarters are in Paris, France, but its influence stretches worldwide. With more than 50 field offices across every continent, it coordinates global programs from literacy drives in Africa to heritage protection in Asia and disaster relief in the Middle East. Achievements beyond World Heritage. Although UNESCO is most famous for the World Heritage sites, its achievements span far wider. It helped create the Universal Copyright Convention in 1952. It played a leading role in the international campaign to save the monuments of Nubia in the 1960s, when the construction of the Aswan High Dam in Egypt threatened to submerge ancient temples. Thanks to UNESCO, the temples of Abu Simbel were dismantled and relocated piece by piece, saving them for posterity. It promotes intangible cultural heritage, from Japanese no theatre to Mexican Day of the Dead traditions. It supports scientific collaboration, such as the Man and the Biosphere Programme, 1971, protecting ecosystems worldwide. UNESCO was born out of the ruins of war, not as a weapon or a treaty, but as an idea that peace must be built through shared knowledge, respect for culture, and the spread of education. Its mission remains as relevant today as in 1945. By protecting both schools and sacred temples, both free speech and fragile coral reefs, UNESCO acts as humanity's custodian, reminding us that while nations may be divided, our heritage and our future are shared. The birth of the World Heritage Convention, 1972. The idea that certain places are so unique and valuable that they belong not just to one country, but to all humanity, grew out of a moment of crisis in the 1960s. The spark, saving Abu Simbel. In the late 1950s, Egypt announced plans to build the Aswan High Dam on the Nile River. While the dam promised hydroelectric power and irrigation for millions, it came with a terrible price. The rising waters of Lake Nasser would submerge dozens of ancient temples, including the magnificent Abu Simbel temples of Pharaoh Ramses II and the Temple of Philae, dedicated to the goddess Isis. Faced with the potential loss of monuments over 3,000 years old, the Egyptian and Sudanese governments appealed to UNESCO for help. In 1960, UNESCO launched an unprecedented international rescue campaign. Over 50 nations contributed money, expertise, and equipment. Between 1964 and 1968, engineers carefully cut the colossal Abu Simbel statues into over 1,000 blocks, each weighing up to 30 tons, and relocated them 65 metres higher, where they were reassembled piece by piece. This astonishing feat of archaeology and engineering saved the temples and became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it worked together. The campaign not only preserved Egypt's treasures, but also set a precedent. Cultural heritage was a shared responsibility of all nations. Laying the foundations. This success inspired discussions in the 1960s about creating a permanent international framework to protect both cultural monuments and natural wonders. Two movements came together. The international campaigns to save monuments, like Nubia in Egypt, Venice in Italy, and Borobudur in Indonesia, led by UNESCO. The Conservation of Nature movement, spearheaded by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, which argued that natural landscapes like the Galapagos Islands or Yellowstone should also be preserved. In 1965, at a White House conference in Washington, the idea of a World Heritage Trust was floated by the United States, particularly by conservationist Russell Train and the US National Park Service. They envisioned an international fund to protect the world's superb natural and scenic areas and historic sites for the present and the future of the entire world's citizenry. The road to 1972. Negotiations unfolded throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s. UNESCO worked closely with the IUCN and the International Council on Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS, which provided expertise in cultural preservation. Finally, in November 1972, at the 17th session of the UNESCO General Conference in Paris, delegates from around the world adopted the Convention concerning the protection of the world, cultural and natural heritage, better known today as the World Heritage Convention. What the Convention established. The Convention created a global system with several key principles. Universal value. Sites of outstanding universal value would be recognised as belonging to all humanity. Shared responsibility. While each nation maintains sovereignty over its sites, they also commit to protecting them not only for themselves, but for the world. World Heritage Committee, a rotating group of 21 member states tasked with evaluating nominations and ensuring sites are protected. World Heritage Fund, a financial pool supported by member contributions used to help countries safeguard endangered sites. Operational guidelines, developed with the expertise of ICOMOS for cultural sites, IUCN for natural sites, and later ICCROM, International Centre for the Study of the Preservation and Restoration of Cultural Property. The first World Heritage Sites. The Convention came into force in 1975, after the required number of countries ratified it. The very first World Heritage Sites were inscribed in 1978. There were just 12 sites, including Galapagos Islands, Ecuador, Natural, Yellowstone National Park, USA, Natural, Mesa Verde National Park, USA, Cultural, Simien Mountains National Park, Ethiopia, Natural, Rock-hewn Churches of Lalibela, Ethiopia, Cultural, Krakow's Historic Centre, Poland, Cultural, Island of Gorée, Senegal, Cultural, commemorating the Atlantic slave trade. From that small beginning, the list has grown to over 1,100 sites in more than 160 countries today. Why 1972 still matters. The World Heritage Convention remains one of the most successful international treaties ever signed. Unlike political or economic agreements, it is a pact of solidarity and memory. It says that whether it is a medieval cathedral, a coral reef, or a sacred mountain, these treasures are not just national pride. They are the shared legacy of all humankind. The 1972 Convention was humanity's way of saying some things are too precious to lose and too important to belong to just one nation. What counts as a World Heritage Site? When the World Heritage Convention came into force in 1975, it had to answer a deceptively simple question. What exactly makes a site worthy of being called World Heritage? The result was a carefully crafted system of categories and criteria, blending culture, nature, and even living traditions, to recognise the full diversity of humanity's treasures. The three main categories. 1. Cultural heritage. This is the largest category and includes monuments, individual works of architecture, sculptures, inscriptions, or cave paintings, groups of buildings, historic towns, city centres, castles, or complexes. Sites, archaeological locations, cultural landscapes shaped by humans over centuries. Examples: Stonehenge, UK, a prehistoric stone circle aligned with celestial events. The Taj Mahal, India, a Mughal-era mausoleum of white marble, symbolising eternal love. Machu Picchu, Peru, the Incan citadel hidden in the Andes, rediscovered in 1911 by Hiram Bingham. Historic centre of Rome, Italy, including the Colosseum, the Forum, and St. Peter's Basilica. Angkor, Cambodia, sprawling Khmer temple complexes from Angkor Wat to Bayon. Old City of Jerusalem and its walls, sacred to Judaism, Christianity and Islam. 2. Natural heritage. These are areas of outstanding physical, biological or geological value. They include natural features, mountains, waterfalls, deserts, geological formations, caves, volcanoes, fossil beds, habitats of threatened species, rainforests, savannas, coral reefs. Examples: Galapagos Islands, Ecuador, Charles Darwin's Living Laboratory of Evolution, Yellowstone National Park, USA, geysers, hot springs, and abundant wildlife. The Serengeti, Tanzania, home to the Great Migration of wildebeest and zebra. Great Barrier Reef, Australia, the largest coral reef system in the world. Iguazu National Park, Argentina/Brazil, thundering waterfalls surrounded by subtropical forest. Mount Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, Africa's tallest peak, crowned with glaciers. 3rd, mixed heritage. Some sites are recognised for both cultural and natural significance, places where human history and nature are deeply intertwined. Examples are Mount Athos, Greece, a monastic community on a rugged peninsula, blending spiritual tradition with natural isolation. Meteora, Greece, monasteries perched atop towering rock pillars. Machu Picchu, Peru, not only cultural but also a marvel of harmony with the Andean landscape. Uluru Kata National Park, Australia, sacred Aboriginal land and an extraordinary natural formation. Sacred sites and pilgrimage routes in the Key Mountain Range, Japan. Shinto and Buddhist sites among forests and rivers. The official criteria. To be inscribed, a site must show outstanding universal value, OUV, meaning it is so significant it transcends national boundaries. UNESCO has defined 10 criteria, originally 6 for culture, 4 for nature, later merged. Cultural, 1 to 6, 1. Represent a masterpiece of human creative genius. 2. Show interchange of human values across cultures. 3. Bear unique testimony to a cultural tradition or civilization. 4. Exemplify outstanding architecture, town planning, or landscape design. 5. Illustrate traditional human settlement or land use, vulnerable to change. 6. Be directly associated with events, traditions, beliefs, or artistic works of outstanding universal significance. Natural, 7 to 10. 7. Contain exceptional natural beauty and aesthetic importance. 8. Represent major stages of Earth's history, geology, fossils, landforms. 9. Show ongoing ecological and biological processes. 10. Contain the most important natural habitats for biodiversity conservation. Examples under criteria. Criterion 1. Creative genius. The Pyramids of Giza, Egypt. Criterion 3. Unique testimony. The rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, Ethiopia. Criterion 7. Natural beauty. Ha Long Bay, Vietnam. Criterion 10. Biodiversity. The Amazon rainforest, Brazil, Peru, Colombia. Beyond the physical, intangible heritage. Although not part of the original 1972 convention, UNESCO later expanded its mission to include intangible cultural heritage, traditions, music, rituals and craftsmanship that also need safeguarding. Examples: flamenco, Spain; music and dance; yoga, India; philosophy and practice; Turkish coffee culture and tradition, Turkey; Day of the Dead, Mexico; rituals honouring ancestors. This shows that heritage isn't only about stones and landscapes, but also about living traditions passed down through generations. A World Heritage Site can be a temple or a rainforest, a medieval city or a coral reef, even a mountain or a cultural tradition. What unites them is the recognition that they hold outstanding universal value, something so special, so rare, that its protection is the responsibility of the entire world. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it as interesting as I did. In the next videos we will look at the top 20 UNESCO sites in depth, share their histories, cultures and their value to humanity. If you would like to join me on this journey, please like and share. And, as always, stay curious.